Good afternoon, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is CPS Boxing News Inc. from New York City, and today it's a pleasure to introduce one of the Boxing Hall of Fame and also Marine Corps officer, Stephanie Simon, is with us. Thanks, Stephanie. It's a pleasure for me to introduce yourself, and of course, having this interview with you. How you feeling?
I feel all right. I can't say great. Life is always just up and down, especially how it is in the boxing world. It's a very thankless sport, but there's a reason why only the elite of the elite get into this sport. It's because it's cutthroat, and you have to be one tough son of a bee to be in this boxing community. So not just physically, but mentally as well. So I'm fighting my battles in and out of the ring, but overall, growing and learning hard lessons, but I'm still glad to be a boxer, happy to be a boxer, happy to be a part of this community, and we're training for the world. So
It's great to hear your story. If I'm not mistaken, you're gonna be pretty soon three times a champion, national champion in boxing. Is it true? If you participate.
So I am a national Golden Gloves champion for 2021, and then two-time USA national champion. So I've won 3 total, but only 2 of them were USA national championships. 146, I won both those 2 years in a row, and the Olympic trials, if I win that, that'll be 3 in a row for me at 146. So, yeah, man, I've been really growing a lot as a fighter, especially while I was on the Marine Corps boxing team. The last 2 years of my active duty career, I'm a reservist now in the United States Marine Corps. So, as an officer in the reserves, I work once a month on a weekend, and so it's basically temporarily in the military, kind of once a month type deal. So it's still rewarding because you reap the benefits of being a United States Marine without having to do it full time 100% of the time, and that allows me to train in boxing and prepare my future for my fight career and everything like that. So I have the time to do that because I'm a reservist, and so but yeah, kind of a Hall of Fame, Marine Corps Boxing Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Fame like the World Hall of Fame boxing, not quite that level yet. Hopefully one day, but yeah. So for the Marine Corps boxing side, I got inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2022.
Oh, great!
And yeah, it was an honor and a privilege to be put in that category as an elite Marine boxer. So definitely one of the highlights of my Marine Corps career. And now I live in Miami, Florida, and I'm training and getting ready for the Olympic Training Center camp that I'll be going to next Sunday. And then, like we talked about before, the Olympic trials will be this December, and we'll see how everything goes. Just going to continue to work hard and prepare for these events, and then from there, eventually want to go pro. So.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, my thing is like, how does that work for you? To combine, the military and also, training, in boxing, and I bet you come home, and do other things, like Wonder Woman.
Sure.
I would call it. But how does that work for you? I mean, I know maybe 7 days is not enough, I guess. You could tell me, and also, who's your trainer when the one that is preparing yourself? Can you tell us, or can you reveal the secret, or you don't want to reveal that?
Oh, no, for sure. Well, first off, while I was 100% in the Marine Corps active duty full time, when I started getting back into boxing, it was very difficult to manage the time because I was, working my regular Marine Corps job from 7 in the morning till 4 o'clock, and then having to go and box after that, which sounds great, but sometimes we go out into the woods somewhere or into the desert to do a training, and it can be a couple months where you're not doing any boxing. So, it's very different when you're in the military full time, trying to balance that and being a boxer. It's pretty hard. It's not impossible, but it's pretty hard to get to the elite level. And so I found myself in 2018, 2019 really struggling with getting to the elite level while being active duty full-time Marine. And, perfect example, right, is in 2019 I went to the Eastern qualifiers for, in hopes of going to the Olympic trials. Well, I did pretty well, but I didn't do well enough to qualify for the Olympic trials. So at that point, it was the end of 2019, and someone said, "Hey, it's all good. You can go to the last chance qualifier, which is coming up in a few months." And at that moment, I realized I can't go to the last chance qualifier. I will literally be in 29 Palms in the desert with the Marine Corps, sleeping in a tent for 2 months in 113-degree weather. I will not be able to go to that last chance qualifier, which means this is the end of the road for the Olympic dream I had for 2020. It ends here because of my military obligations. There's absolutely nothing I could do. My military chain of command, they need me. They need me at that point to go do my job out in the desert. I can't just be like, "Hey, guys, I got to go. I'm sorry. I want to go compete in a tournament." That's not how the military works. We're training for potential combat.
Exactly.
An engagement with another country. Like, we need everybody to be a team and to work together and prepare for this. You never know what's going to happen. The world's crazy. So because of that, I was unable to go to the last chance qualifier, which means I was unable to qualify for the trials, which means 2019, it was kind of a dead end. But fast forward about a year later, it was announced that the Marine Corps was bringing back the Marine Corps boxing team, and they needed a team captain, they needed a platoon commander, and they also needed people with experience to come to the team. And this was great because at this point, this team would allow you as a Marine to be full-time assigned to the Marine boxing team, which means all you do, for the most part, is boxing, right? So I was able to join the team, but on the team, I didn't have to worry about being out in the field or out in the desert doing these other things because that no longer was my job while I was boxing for the Marine Corps, which that is where a lot of growth took place, was those 2 years. Because, I was training with Coach Joe Higgins, guy from New York, amazing coach, firefighter for 20 years, 20 plus years, also was a Marine as well. One of the best coaches I've ever met in my life. He was the person that was able to bring out of me what I didn't know I had, which was not just aggressiveness, but skill. And working with him, that's kind of how I went from like a pretty good fighter to national champion level, And with him, won Golden Gloves, the national Golden Gloves. I fought 4 nights in a row, and I won the Golden Girl Award. So I was, best female fighter of that tournament that year, which was a huge honor. And I took that momentum into the 2021 USA Nationals, which was December of that year. At that tournament, I stopped my first opponent in the semis, and then I stopped my opponent in the finals as well. And again, it was just kind of like everything was just working, not just in the training room, but with the Marine Corps and the military as well. And eventually, a couple months passed, and I got out of active duty, out of the full-time Marine situation. And now I live here, and I'm living in Miami. And since then, I won my 3rd national title in December, this past December, with a completely new set of coaches. I was working with a guy named Erika Albert at Punch Elite Fitness. Now I'm working with a guy named Coach Michael from Warriors Boxing Gym. They're both amazing. They're both awesome. And the next step is to get ready for the trials. We'll see how everything goes. I know there's some things going on behind closed doors that I don't quite understand in terms of selection, but that's out of my control.
Sure.
If I get to a point where I don't believe that it realistically is going to happen with the Olympics, I'm moving on to the pros and pursuing, further progression in boxing, which I feel as a pro, that's kind of where you start to really define who you are as a fighter.
That's awesome.
That's kind of how everything's going right now.
It's awesome to hear your story, because when it comes to the training session and everything and all the skills, it seems that you already, applying and combining everything, even with the military thing, the, workouts and everything. And I bet you that it's going to get you ready when you turn pro. I mean, God knows if it is 2024 or, we don't know exactly, but I bet you that you will be ready. What makes you to become a Marine Corps? I mean, I know, I always, with all due respect to every female athlete, every female out there, I know females, they could be model, things like that, but they choose to become, I mean, in your case, become a Marine Corps and other, things like, let's say an example, from Mexico City, Erika Cruz, she's a National Guard, police officer. She went to New York City to fight Amanda Serrano. Not too many people knows what she does outside the boxing thing. But what makes you to become in the and enter in the Marine Corps? Can you tell us your story a little bit?
For sure. So, um, first off, my dad was a Marine, so that kind of solves half the question right there.
Runs in the
Having that
family.
influence. Yeah, he was a Marine for 23 years, Marine Corps officer. And at a young age, around 11, is when he started planting the seed in my mind. Like, you should consider going to the United States Naval Academy. The United States Naval Academy is one of the 3 or 4 service colleges, where after you graduate from this college, you become an officer in the military. So either the Army, which is West Point, Coast Guard Academy, which is the Coast Guard, Air Force Academy, Air Force, and then at the Naval Academy, which is where I went, you either become a Marine officer or a Navy officer. You kind of get to pick, and you also kind of get selected. It's a combination of both. So he kept telling me about this Naval Academy thing, kept telling me about how it's one of the most prestigious colleges in the country, and how it's one of the leading military, schools in the world.
Sure.
And about how going there, becoming an officer, and going into the military will set me up for success in my life in ways that, it's amazing, right? Because, like, you go to a regular college, you go and you party and you kind of do school, and it's like, all right, now I get a job based off of my degree. When you go to a military college, you're spending 4 years of your life grooming and learning and becoming a future leader of the fleet, the actual fleet.
Sure.
The people that go out and they represent the country in potential combat environment. And not even just that, but like in a lot of ways, military representatives, they represent what it is to be an American. You look at a person in uniform, they're volunteering their time, their effort, they're signing the dotted line to become a service member and to potentially risk their life for their country. So
true.
If that doesn't say something about who you are and about what it means to be a service member, you got to really think about like how special that truly is. And so, I had my own agenda in my head as a young person. I was like, I want to be a wrestler in college. I want to be an Olympic wrestler. I want to pursue that. I don't know if I really want to do the military thing. And then by the time I was a junior in high school, that's when I applied to the Naval Academy. I was like, I think this might be the best thing for me. And so I applied to the Naval Academy, which, by the way, only 7% of applicants to the Naval Academy get in. It's a very, very competitive school, very hard school to get into. And I ended up getting in. I got accepted through the prep school. So I went to a prep school first, and then I actually went to the Naval Academy. And at the Naval Academy, I was challenged and worked harder than I've ever had to in my life just to stay afloat, because the academics are unbelievable. Every single person has to take electrical engineering, thermodynamics, calculus. I had to take calculus 1, 2, 3. I had to take differential equations. I had to take underwater sonar acoustics. I had to take these courses, were mind-blowingly difficult, while also fulfilling my military obligations, while also being a 2-sport varsity athlete, while also being in the glee club and the choir. I was juggling so much at once. It was, again, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. And that whole time that I was struggling and juggling and trying to stay afloat, I was building character, but I was also becoming the person that I'd later be, down the future, which is who I am today. The multiple-time national champion, one of the first female Marine officers in combat arms in history, right? One of the first people to do what I've done in the Marine Corps. And then, Marine Corps boxing had never had a female captain, so I made history in that sense, right? First female Marine Corps boxing team captain in the history of the Marine Corps. Hall of Fame, Marine Corps Boxing Hall of Fame. All these different things. And even at the Naval Academy made history. There'd never been a national champion.
Wow, amazing.
For boxing, and I won 3 of them, and then went on to become, Not just that, but I was the team captain of the track team. Division 1 track team. I did all these things, and all of it was preparation for what was to come. And again, if I had not taken that chance and opportunity, and I had gone with my original plan to just go wrestle at some college, I would have never experienced all these things. So yeah, that's kind of what led me to becoming a Marine officer, was going to the Naval Academy. And from there, I decided, I want to go the Marine Corps route, not the Navy route, and that's what I did. And I spent 5 full years as an active duty Marine, and I wanted to do it because I knew it'd be challenging, I knew it'd be hard, and I wanted to do something that brought meaning and purpose to my life. So that's why I picked that.
That's awesome to hear your story. I mean, inspiring story also as well for many other, female athletes, and not only female athletes, people in general. Because I know right now in this time we want to see, some type of people to be or become a role model, and you are one of them. Congrats. I take my hat off in front of you, because it takes a lot of more than guts to step in battlefield and the ring and do all these things in life. But I know, boxing is a great sport where, you have to have discipline, dedication, and all of that. But it seems you already, in. So I bet you when you turn pro, I know things it go well for you. One thing that, it keeps me also, you're welcome. One thing that it keeps me, amazed is that women's boxing in this generation is moving forward stronger. What do you think about women's boxing right now? Seeing images like Serrano, Claressa Shields, Savannah Marshall from the UK, Michaela Mayer, Alycia Baumgardner, and many other, athletes, Katie Taylor, and champions. Oh my God, the list is going on and on and on, because it never stops. Now I see, women's are involved in boxing. What do you think about this era that where we see women's boxing perform, main card, main events, and it's great for the sports and for all the generations behind? Could you tell us?
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. I think it is about damn time. But I don't think people realize what that arena was like when Katie Taylor fought in Serrano. I was there. And when I tell you that it brought me chills, because I realized at that moment, there's no difference between this fight and a big men's fight. There's no difference, because everybody was on their effing feet. Everybody was losing their mind. The energy in the room, unbelievable. Because there was a couple times where Serrano was hurting Katie Taylor. Like, it got to a point where I thought somebody was going to get knocked out. Everybody was on their feet, losing their minds. The energy,
so true.
The intensity. I was screaming. I lost my voice. And then it dawned on me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a women's fight. This is a women's fight causing this much commotion, this much energy. And I was like, the future's bright, because this is proof. This is proof right here in this room with thousands of people in Madison Square Garden. This is proof that women can do what the men can do. And not just that, but we can do some things even better. Because I tell you what, those women did not back down one bit. There wasn't a dull moment in that fight. There wasn't a moment where I was like,
no, I know. I was
not even for a second, because they are warriors.
I was part of that history, I mean, what can I say? You are part of the history as well. And anybody that it was inside the Madison Square Garden, it was part of history, women's boxing, because like you said it, I realized, and I was a witness, that no one wanted to sit down. I was one of them that I didn't want to sit down. I was standing and yelling like crazy. You're right. I lost my voice as well. I'm not gonna just copycat like you said it. No, I lost my voice completely. There's another fight, but that has nothing to do right now with women's boxing. But eventually, women's boxing, I can see that they can present main event card, and what can I say? Women's boxing is moving forward, is stronger, and I gotta say congrats to everyone. What do you think about this upcoming match? This past match that we had. Serrano against, a Mexican tough warrior, and like I just mentioned, she belongs in the National Guard in Mexico. Erika Cruz, what do you think about this fight there? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Seeing this.
No, I watched it, and I was like, you know what? The mindset that these women have, I don't think people realize that you got to be some kind of different human being to be able to go into a fight like that, leaving bloody and battered, and you have to be a warrior, like a legitimate warrior, to be able to do that and to stay on your feet and to keep fighting. Because the shots that those women were taking and the shots that they were throwing, the fact that they kept fighting, like, you know, the fact, like, it was like, they're tough as F.
Yes.
They are tough. And that's the thing, is every time I see fights like this, where it's just back and forth and, like, there's no quit in either opponent, especially when women are fighting like that, it's just a reminder, again, it's just reinforcing this idea that, like, just because we are females, just because we're women, does not mean that we are not just as fucking crazy and badass as the men. And that was a perfect example. They left looking like they just went through, I don't even know, a barbed wire fence, like, face first. Like, they beat each other up. And, like, that's boxing, man. You fight until the last bell is rung. You fight until the last round. You fight until you have nothing left. And that's exactly what they did. They left absolutely nothing in that ring. And for me, I respect that more than anything. There was no coward behavior. There was no shyness. There was no, ooh, I don't want to get hit. None of that. It was all action. It was, I'm not going to stop punching until this fight's over and until you kill me and knock me out. Like, again, these are all qualities. These are all things that everybody wants to see in a fight. Women are expressing that and showing that from beginning to end in these fights. So, again, I'm watching and I'm like, there you go. There's proof. We'll continue to prove to the world that we deserve a spot and a place in combat sports.
Of course.
Not just boxing, MMA as well. We belong here. And to anyone that doesn't believe that, well, for one, F you. And two, if you need the proof that we belong here, let me just show you my phone. Let me just show you Madison Square Garden when Katie Taylor fought Amanda Serrano. Let me just watch. Here's a video of thousands of people on their feet. People that flew. Do you know how many freaking people flew from Ireland to come see this thing?
From many
people
places.
Spending thousands of dollars to come see this fight. Here's the proof. Like, there you go. Here's a picture. Here's a video. You can't argue it. It's undeniable at this point. It's moving fast, and we're going in the right direction. And I would love to see equal pay. You know? It's going to take time. I understand that. But let's close the gap, man. Let's close this gap. And let's continue to grow as a sport for women. And let's be aware. Let's be better than the older generations.
It's true.
Let's improve. Let's give opportunities to these young women, young men. Not just women, men too. Like Let's empower these young people and give them a dream and give them hope and give them the future and pave the way for them, because they're the future of the sport. And the only way to do that is to uplift women's boxing. Let's uplift it. Let's showcase it, and let's show people we can do this thing.
Of course, and
You know?
and I agree with you, and also to give an opportunity to every female athlete, and not only females, but everyone, because I bet you that there are so many skills that has to be discovered from all of them, and I know in the next couple of years we're gonna hear from many places all over the world. Someone is gonna rise up and say, I'm here, I'm proving that I got skills as I become a world champion and anything like that. So I think it's amazing when it comes to sports and different things, not only in boxing, but also basketball and all these areas where, we can see displayed many athletes that I bet you that they're gonna become champions and all of that. Talking about champions and all of that, Stephanie, what do you think about women's boxing? But not for these people that they wanna become a professional boxer, but they wanna apply boxing in their lives, like help themselves in become healthy and also do a workout. What do you think about women's boxing that right now is making a big impact over the world? Because I know There's so many, females out there that they don't train for become a professional boxer, but they train for self-defense. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's phenomenal that boxing in general, not even just in like a competitive nature, but in a recreational context, is becoming more popular. I think that we have to realize that fighting, boxing, and training, it's difficult. It's difficult just like life. Life is difficult, right? In a boxing training, there are going to be times where you want to quit. There are going to be times where you want to take a break, times where you want to give up, times where you want to basically be like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. That's exactly how life is, right? There's so many times where we're going to face adversity. So many times we're going to enter into a new arena, a new place, a new thing, a new whatever, a new job, a new level that we're going up. And we're going to be faced with adversity and problems and things that make us want to quit. And as a fighter in the ring, you don't have the opportunity. You don't have the option to quit. Because if you quit, what happens? Something really bad can happen. Worst case scenario, we've seen it. We've seen people lose their life in boxing.
True.
But, maybe medium case scenario, you get knocked out. And then not so crazy worst case scenario would be you lose a fight that you could have won, right? So boxing is a sport and is a lifestyle where you have to push through the adversity and the hard times. You have to push through the temptation to want to give up and to want to, let me just take some time off. Let me just digest everything and let me just make excuses for why I'm not going to push myself and continue to try, right? You can't do that in the sport of boxing. You can't. And so I think when you apply those things to your regular life, you realize, like, if I approach my life the same way I approach boxing, oh my gosh, life is 10 times easier than I thought it was, right? It's that mindset, the warrior mindset. You can knock me down, but I'm going to get back up. That mindset and that mentality is a lot different in other sports. It's not as prevalent. It's not as present. But when you're a fighter, when you're a boxer, it's you versus either the bag or a person, doesn't matter, right? When it's you against your own mind and your own mental capacity of these thoughts and stuff, you have nowhere to hide. You have nowhere to blame. You have no one to blame. And it's literally a battle between you and yourself. And that right there, like, again, I believe truly that not just boxing, but combat sports and combat activities are truly create the strongest and most capable people on the face of the planet. Because it's a type of martial art, it's a sport, boxing, wrestling, taekwondo, whatever the case may be. You have nowhere to hide. You have to face your fears.
True.
You can't blame the person you left or right because you're the one in the ring. And in terms of self-defense and in terms of women being empowered by the sport of boxing to protect their own safety, I think that's freaking awesome. Because there's techniques with striking in general, maybe not necessarily punching someone who's coming at you, just striking in general, having the confidence to know, okay, if I land a shot here, that buys me time to get out, to escape the situation.
True.
Or if I know and understand leverage and how to actually have power behind a strike, even if I'm not the biggest person, even though I'm a female, it's still enough force and enough of something to potentially save my life in a situation where it buys me half a second to escape, right? And again, that confidence in understanding martial arts, boxing, or wrestling, or anything like that, can end up saving your life at the end of the day. And I think that it's important for all women to at least have some sort of martial arts training to some extent, to some degree, so that they're able to protect themselves in a really crappy situation. And I know we talked about it earlier. There was a woman by the name of Nashley Alma who was attacked in Tampa in her home gym.
Sure.
By someone who was actually living at the apartment, I believe, who was knocking on the door, whatever case scenario. It was one of those situations where she thought, oh, the person just wants to come in the gym and work out. He ended up attacking her. She fought him off. Extremely brave, right? She didn't have actual formal training in any type of martial arts. And she was able to fight him off until he gave up and he left, right? That right there, like that, I think that sparked something in a lot of people, especially women. That sparked a realization that even in your own home, Even when there's cameras around, there's no reason to really be suspicious. You never know. You could get attacked. Something can happen at any moment. You never know, so you have to be prepared to fight back. I did a video in response to that, and Ashley and I are actually going to be training Tuesday.
Nice.
I'm driving 4 hours to Tampa, and I'm going to teach her boxing. Like, we're going to actually have a boxing session, teach her some fundamentals, teach her some basics, and it's going to be a good time, but it's also going to be something that I want everyone to see. I want people to realize, like, I'm a person of my word, and as a fighter, it's not just about me. I had to share my gift. I had to share my knowledge with people, not just the national level, but hopefully even the world stage. Share my knowledge, share what I know, and my experiences with others who might need that help. So, long answer, but long story short.
No,
I would say long
mean,
story short.
it's great. It's great.
Yeah,
And
it's important.
and I have
whether
to
you're
I have to say thank you
or
for giving yourself some time in order to show people like your skills and knowledge and all these advices also and experience that you've been through. So it's great when we see female like you. With all due respect
appreciate
to
that.
you, you're a strong woman, and I can see that definitely you are one of the leaders in combat sports and in many things, even in life. So that I bet you
Thank you.
anyone that comes on you and reach out for help, I know you be able to teach some of the skills and anything that you might have to show and give it the
Awesome,
knowledge
for
to
sure.
all these people. Talking about boxing again, I know there's been back and forth before, they talk in social media and things like that. Mr. Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis, they agreed to come and fight now on April 22nd. It's gonna be an amazing fight. What do you think about these two fighters, that two different fighters, different skills, and finally they're here to do their thing? What do you think about this upcoming fight?
I'm excited for it. I think a lot in boxing, we see a lot of dodging and diving and ducking and dipping from someone with zero fights against someone with zero wins against someone with zero wins. Like, there's almost this inclination to avoid two superstars from fighting. I see it. We all see it a lot in boxing, where for some reason it doesn't happen. So to have a fight like this, where two superstars are going to fight, it's great. And one's tall and lean, and the other one is like short and compact, right? They, looking at this fight, I feel like they're going to put on an incredible show. Now, if you want me to make predictions, right, at the end of the day, I'm going to look at the person with the more power and look at the person with the chin and the person that gives less F's about anything or anyone and just wants to be a savage. That's Tank all the way. Tank does not give a crap about what anyone thinks. He doesn't care who you are, what should take you apart from beginning to end. He'll find a way. That man finds a way to get what he wants. And you can be an Olympian, you can be somebody with all this experience, have this amazing resume. He makes a coward, he makes he makes people who are really good turn into vegetables. And in my opinion, that skill and that ability to break someone down, not just physically but mentally, only a few people truly have that gift and truly have that ability. He's one of them. So I'm pretty much, anyone that sits in the ring with him, I get worried about that person. Even if they are 20-something and 0 or 20-something and 0. Even if they have power too, right? Because he's the kind of guy too, if you hit him hard, he's going to try to hit you harder.
Yeah.
A lot of fighters, you hit them hard and they want to back the heck away from you. And they want to become more defensive. He's not that kind of guy. Oh, you landed on me? Okay, watch. Boom, boom! You're asleep. So, again, a fighter like that is truly, truly dangerous. And, yeah, of course, Ryan has skill, and he's slick. And he has heart, too. I mean, we saw in that fight where he got knocked down, and he got back up and ended up hitting the guy with a body shot and winning the fight. He's got heart, too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he doesn't. But I am saying that if he was able to get knocked down by someone with half the strength and speed as Tank, it's inevitable. If he gets hit with a clean punch from Tank, the lights are out.
I'm pretty sure.
And that's my
I'm
opinion.
I'm pretty sure. Yes, respectable. I mean, I always like to hear things from every different person. Trainers, fighters, and of course yourself as well. And I think it's gonna be amazing because we're gonna see how these two boxers they gonna discover how to hit each other because I'm pretty sure Ryan is gonna be very carefully when it comes to um, Gervonta, and of course Gervonta is gonna be carefully as well because Ryan has speed and also has power. But let's not forget Gervonta knows how to be patient. He's very composed. His timing is perfect, because he knows when he's gonna throw, exactly perfect punches where he's gonna knock, the his opponent out. So were we gonna know what's gonna happen? We don't know yet.
We'll just have
That's
to see.
that's why we gotta see it. We gotta stay tuned, and we also will just gotta check. Of course, this fight and continue supporting women's boxing. Stephanie, three things that I'm gonna ask you before we wrap it
Of
up this
course.
interview. Favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Ray,
Mm,
about Ray Charles.
nice.
Very random. Love it. It's Jamie Foxx's performance, unbelievable. I was convinced I was watching Ray Charles. And I love music. I love jazz. I play 5 instruments. And that's when I truly fell in love with jazz music was that movie, Ray, about Ray Charles.
Awesome. Second thing, favorite fighter in men's boxing.
Marvin Hagler. Marvin Hagler because he was the underdog. He was humble as hell. He just worked his ass off. Again, wasn't Mr. Flashy, Mr. Look at all my money, Mr. I want all the attention, like me, 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 me. He was just like, I'm going to work harder than anybody else. I'm going to be in better shape than anybody else. And that man was an absolute tank. And his skull was like twice as thick as normal humans. So actually, he had a physical situation where it was almost like God put him on earth to box. Because hit him in the head, it's fine. Like literally his skull is twice as thick. So I thought that was funny too. But absolutely marvelous, Marvin Hagler.
I,
Absolute tank, absolute dog, badass.
I agree with you. One of my favorite fighters as well. And third thing, favorite music when you do your workout, like your training and things like that. What makes you to inspire or like have the spark inside of you and say, I'm gonna do this thing and work harder? Tell us about it.
90s hip hop. 90s hip hop because unlike hip hop today, there's actually rhythm, but a little bit of musicality in the music. So it makes you want to dance, right? And when you want to dance, in boxing especially, being in that kind of dancey, smooth feeling, you actually are a little bit more relaxed. And when you're relaxed, you move better. So I think the 90s hip hop is a perfect translation into how to get into your best performance. You don't want for me, I don't want heavy metal because then I get tense and I want to punch walls. But I don't want opera music because then I'm gonna fall asleep. But 90s hip hop for me is perfect.
I totally, agree with you because I know you have to have some type of music where you just mentioned, boxing is some type of style that you have to dance, you have to, move back and forth one side to the other side, and of course, do your thing. Well,
For
Stephanie,
sure.
I know, we've been talking a little bit. I quite would say, we will have another interview if you allow me in another time. I know you have to
Of
prepare.
course.
I know you have to prepare for fight. Coming soon. I know you have to go there and teach people your skills and everything like that. I gotta say thank you for everything. But before we wrap it up with this
Thank
interview,
you.
one message. You're welcome. One message would you like to deliver to all the fight fans, family, friends, and all the corp family that of course it became your family as well.
Remember that everything is temporary. After a loss, after a win, after success, after failure, everything's temporary. So take everything that happens in your life with a grain of salt because you might lose a fight, tomorrow will come, right? Remember,
I agree.
your next fight might be the national tournament and you end up winning the whole thing, which is exactly what happened to me, right? I went from a loss. Those losses sometimes make you look internally and ask yourself, what do I got to improve on, right? And then when you do that, you grow. The growth comes from failures. And then success, right? Success is the aftermath after you've grown. Success is the proof that what you did worked. But success doesn't last forever. You have to continue to prove yourself. You don't just get to ride off the success from one event for the rest of your life. You have to keep succeeding. You have to keep growing up and down, right? Lose sometimes, win sometimes. It's the slow progression of performance and of experience, and eventually you become the fighter you want to be. But you have to remember, it's temporary, losses and wins.
Thank you. I have to say, thanks again for your time, for also giving me, a chance and enter a little bit in your life, because I'm pretty sure you have many stories, different stories. But I bet you one day we're gonna sit down together and of course, talk about these certain things that, we would like
100%.
to display for all, fans and of course in general. So I gotta say thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, CPS
Thank
Boxing
you.
News over here with Boxing Hall of Fame and Marine Corp, Stephanie Simon. Stephanie, thank you. I don't say goodbye because I'm pretty
Thank
sure
you.
that I will contact you soon. So
Yeah.
wishing you nothing but the best in your upcoming fight and anything, of course, that you apply in your life. And God bless you. And thank you for serving my country as well.
Thank you so much. God bless you all, and have a great night, all right?
Thank you. Thank you.